Flat Earth Debate live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a Ko-Fi, Patreon, crypto, and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and X. Now, we are joined by Neil, Refracted Curvature, and a whole bunch of people in the Flat Earth 24/7 Politics Discord server.
Bro, this is so
welcome,
cringe.
one and all.
Yo.
Hello.
Hello. Didn't get an interruption when asking for it. Just asked the guy to say hello in an introduction. Got the hello, and this is something or other in the middle of my intro. Thank you for that, whoever that was. What was your complaint? Too long? Too long an intro? Dude that started talking before I finished the intro. What was your issue? No? Just a brave soul that likes talking with other people talk, like I am now.
Sorry, I believe it was Ski.
Ski?
I muted him too late. Yes.
Ski? Did you have something you wanted to add, my friend?
Ski.
Clearly not. Just when I'm talking. Fantastic. Any evidence of a...
I thought it was Sky.
Guy? Either way. We'll see. Maybe he'll start talking next time I'm back into something. We'll see how it goes. Any evidence you can have gas pressure without a container? Dudes in Discord with a globe belief. We're asking for evidence that you can have a sky vacuum without containment. Gas pressure, like we all breathe. Any evidence of that? Garbage that you all believe in? Sky vacuum? Just your religious fundy beliefs in it, right? Cool.
Yeah, so the nature of fastly moving particles dictates such that the magnetic field they produce will cause sort of a wormhole of attraction where similar charges will create certain patterns that are akin to lines or waves, and these waves will cause collections of materials to keep moving in the wake of these particles as they move forward in space. So this causes a congregation of particles that would normally be repelled.
Is that evidence of gas pressure without a container?
That is how waves are formed. Yes, yeah, it is.
So did you have
He's trying to describe gravity.
The container, there is a container. It's gravity.
I'm actually not trying to describe gravity.
Right.
Hold on.
Refracted.
I'm very carefully hinting towards gravity, but I'm not actually describing gravity in this case.
Can you get a bit closer to your mic? The wrong drugs, please.
I'm like literally right next to it. Hold on. Let me do some things though.
So what is your claim precisely when asked if we can have gas pressure without a container?
Like I was saying, normally repelled forces that are of like magnetic charge get attracted when there is an overall net velocity, meaning a direction and a momentum towards some particles are moving in space. And when they have a lot of velocity, they tend to drag other particles in their wake by causing vortexes or wormhole-like patterns or shapes in the space fabric itself, by creating deviations and waves in the space.
Okay, that's fascinating. But gas-filled space, it's a law of nature, so there is no sky vacuum, just so we're clear, regardless of that little waffle that meant nothing.
No, I agree with you. Yeah, the vacuum can never be a perfect vacuum because all the particles will attempt to fill that space in an effort to spread out, but there will occasionally be congregations of particles that are more dense than the other parts of the space, right? The quote-unquote space, where there are just other less densely, more sporadically spaced out particles, right?
No, there is no sky vacuum. There's claimed to be a black area above our head that's 10 to the minus 17 torr, low pressure. But the high pressure gas that we're all breathing would have never developed in the first place if that was the case, because gas expands into whatever volume it's got. So in that theoretical, nonsensical system of a sky vacuum-based globe world, you'd have the first gas particle emerging from the ground, travelling in whatever vector it travels in, regardless of its vortices, and dragging other particles, and it would never return because it would have nothing to press on. It would just carry on in whatever vector it's travelling, still talking, carry on in whatever vector it's travelling, indefinitely, never developing gas pressure, so we'd all be dead.
No, so I think you missed the part where that atmosphere developed after there was already a massive gravitational body, aka magnetic body, that was attracting those particles. It already had a spinning velocity that was great enough to where the distance it would take between the surface of that gravitational body and the outer limits of it were great, such that anything within them is literally stuck within that field.
Okay, so
because the magnetic field is so great.
Do you have any scientific evidence of gravity?
Yeah, starting with, like I said, magnetic fields. I mean, you can cause gravity right now just by speaking. Like you talking right now is creating gravity.
What?
This guy is a lunatic. Yeah. I don't know what we're talking to him. Okay. That's absurd.
Okay, you're a fucking lunatic. I can say the same thing to you. I don't care. Just because you call someone a...
So I'll ask again, hopefully in a calm voice before the ad homs start. So we're asking for scientific evidence of gravity, and what you gave us was talking creates gravity, which tends to suggest to me that you don't understand what the question is. So maybe I'll ask a different question, or slightly different question. It's going to be subtle. Hopefully you can cope. Do you know what scientific evidence is?
So believe it or not, that wasn't my response to your question. That was the thing I said after you ignored my original response to your question after I got an ad hom from your friend over there. So don't tell me that I'm giving you the ad homs when I literally just got directed an ad hom towards me for giving my response to your question that you thoroughly ignored. And then I gave a different response because you ignored that response.
Statement that talking causes gravity.
It does. Everything causes gravity. All matter moving causes gravity. And I gave a reason for that, but it was ignored, which is why I said that in the first place. Do you understand what I'm saying?
What I asked in response to that, hold on, John. Hold just 1 second, John. What I'm asking for in response to your claim that somehow this is gravity. First of all, which gravity?
Gravitational waves.
That's not a type of gravity.
Deviations in space-time fabric
I'm responding
itself.
to you. That's not a type of gravity. So you don't know which gravity.
Yeah, there's no types of gravity.
Let's just keep on talking, hopefully without constant incessant interruption from somebody who's wrong and doesn't know what they're talking about.
You just interrupted me.
Yeah, that's because you've said something incorrect. I asked you what type of gravity.
Okay, you
said,
did too.
And now you're still talking because you detect that there's going to be something embarrassing exposing your ignorance. So probably best if you keep talking indefinitely. That way it won't be the case that your ignorance is highlighted by me. No, it absolutely will be. Who's the guy that bleated in the pre-show? That's strike one, mate. Yeah, he's not getting sworn at yet, but that's definitely strike one. Now, what I'm going to do now for the intolerable, ignorant moron who's just interrupted incessantly when asked for which type of gravity he's referring to and responded with waves, that's not a type of gravity. Clearly, you are ignorant. You can't even define which gravity you're talking about. So when we get into the nitty-gritty of how that gravity functions, we're not going to be talking on the same level because you're ignorant of what you're claiming. You think you're claiming gravity creates a container for gas to defy natural law. I respond, what's your scientific evidence of gravity? You didn't have an answer. You talked about how the conversation had gone and whether or not you've been accused of an ad hom. Okie dokie. That isn't scientific evidence of gravity, so I've made a second attempt. We haven't got any success there either. So I've asked you what type of gravity, and you've said waves, that's not a type of gravity. So, now I've summarised the situation. I'd like you to actually either concede you don't know what the hell you're babbling about, because you'd have told me by now, or hopefully in this little interlude you've done a little Google search to find out what the types of gravities are, so you can tell me. We'll see. You may respond. Which type of gravity were you referring to? I'll be asking for the scientific evidence once we find out. Which one?
My response was there's no types of gravity. Also, I did have an answer earlier.
Sorry, no, you're not going to now take charge of the conversation.
No,
you don't get to make baseless assertions and carry on regardless like that flies. There's no types of gravity. Oh, really? Let me enlighten you, the ignorant, globe-believing numpty who's going to make baseless assertions because he's got a belief in a force that's not a force, that you can think of as a force, end quote, George Musa, Scientific American. You see, in the current rhetoric, as of the last 109 years, there isn't a force of gravity at all. End quote, Professor Brian Cox. It's been superseded, that type of gravity known as Newtonian, with a different type of gravity known as Einsteinian. Now, had you, the babbling buffoon who hasn't got the slightest idea but feels justified in interrupting me incessantly with his ignorant psychobabble about garbage that he made up on the spot and in no way comports with Einsteinian or Newtonian gravity, you think you've got some force creating containment for gas pressure, do you, son? No, you don't even know what gravity is. You've just boldly declared to an audience that there are no types. Oh, really? So when I tell you about a type called Newtonian that is a force of mass attracting mass, or the type called Einsteinian that is a pseudo-Riemannian bent space-time geometry, you're going to tell me there aren't different types of it? No, you're just stupid, lad. You're getting corrected by a flat earther who knows better than you. It doesn't create a container, it's not even a force, end quote, George Musa. There isn't really a force of gravity at all, end quote, Professor Brian Cox. So it certainly isn't a container for gas. You'd need a container for containment. And your heliocentric religion with a sky vacuum doesn't have that. Gravity is not a force, end quote, George Musa, Scientific American. So it certainly won't be forcing the gas to do a damn thing beyond its natural behaviour described in the second law of thermodynamics, which is disperse into space. Space is fake. Now, maybe, given that your gravity garbage rebuttal hasn't in any way changed the behaviour of gas, that is to say it disperses into areas of volume, maybe you could actually try again. We know you don't know what gravity is, so don't rinse and repeat or you'll instantly be removed from the debate. Gas fills space. Second law of thermodynamics.
Okay, you told me to look it up. I did. It says there's only...
You may respond. Second law of thermodynamics.
There's only one type of gravity. Google literally says. I don't know why you told me to Google it when Google literally says you're wrong. Why did you tell me that I should have Googled it when the first thing on Google says, I literally typed in types of gravity and it says there is only one type of gravity. So how are your ad homs looking now, man? You literally just strawman me and
so when you've just described what Google said on your first search of it, I've been studying the subject for 10 years. There are two types. In fact, there are 5. The specific gravity, Newtonian gravity, Einsteinian gravity, God, I can't remember. Quantum gravity. Oh, what's the 5th one? What's the 5th one? Einsteinian, Newtonian, specific, quantum. What's the 5th? There's 5 types. I can't remember. Nevertheless, yeah, you're just wrong, and your quick Google search doesn't trump 10 years of research on the subject matter. So, no, mate, you're just dumb.
There's just gravity.
Dude, you literally told me to Google it, so I...
Dude, there's 4 types I just named on the spot. I can't remember the 5th, dude, but there's definitely different types. Einsteinian and Newtonian, specifically, are the most recent heliocentric types, dude. You're just dumb, dude. Yeah, you're just being schooled by a flat earther who knows more about your own religion than you do. Don't have to like it. You're being exposed as a clown, like all clowns we deal with. I've dealt with people like you for 10 years. You're no exception. You're not smart. You're a guy who addresses other people as dude and thinks that you've got one type of gravity because you don't know better. That's ignorance. Don't have to like it. Thank you to Jardo for the super chat. Really appreciate the support. He says, scroll up a little bit. Now I know why a shift a little in time every time I fart. Okay. Clearing the gas from my bowel causes a massive indent in a space-time. If you say so, Jardo. Thank you for the super chat. Whatever.
Can you cite the law that says that gas must expand into space?
Second law of thermodynamics, I cited it multiple times.
It doesn't say anything about gases expanding into space.
Yeah, it does. I can give
Are you
multiple
saying that
examples
gas
and
doesn't
citations.
fill space?
Go ahead, John. You feel free. I don't want to deal with Brenda.
Okay, reading on.
The second law of
Brenda, you tell me
thermodynamics
gas
doesn't
does
mention
not fill
anything
space?
about
And can you
gases.
demonstrate gas not filling the space?
The second law says nothing about gases.
No, we're not going there
High
yet.
pressure to low pressure.
You made a statement that gas doesn't fill space.
I
Like,
asked you to
you
cite
said
the
that.
law. Cite the law that states that gases must expand into space. There is no such law.
There's no such law.
That's right. The second law doesn't mention gas.
I think I'm just saying it out of memory because I'm not looking it up, but it's higher microstates moving, or it's
I can't
a
understand.
larger amount of microstates moving into a higher available amount of microstates. Yeah, that's gas filling space, Brenda. That's what that's a description of.
Unless what? Unless what?
There was no
Unless
because it's a natural law, Brenda.
right? No, there's conditions. There's conditions attached to that.
It's a natural law, Brenda.
Unless
There's
it's
not an
acted
unless.
upon.
It's not an
Unless
unless.
acted upon by a force.
You got a religious force, belief?
Yeah, the force of gravity.
No, I'm sorry, no. Gravity's not a force.
No, isn't a reply.
It is absolutely
it's not a reply.
not a force.
I gave quotes that you've obviously ignored that came in the last 3 minutes. There isn't really a force of gravity at all. End quote, Professor Brian Cox.
Yeah, that's correct. Gravity can be
flipping
considered
the burden off me like somehow I got to prove gravity doesn't exist. It's an absurdity. She's just trying to flip the burden and say, I got to prove that gravity doesn't exist. No,
Yeah,
that's stupid. I'm not going to answer that.
It's your claim.
But the second law of thermodynamics is our claim. Well, let's hear what Yale have got to say about it. If you could just,
I'm sorry,
Brenda,
Brenda.
I'm going to cite a source, Yale. We'll hear what they've got to say about it. If you can just pop yourselves on mute, everybody in the server and on G+, for just a moment.
Describe to you the first law of thermodynamics. The context was, we're going to study a system. That's our thermodynamic system. And for all our purposes, you can imagine that to be some amount of ideal gas trapped inside this piston and cylinder combination. The gas has a certain pressure and a certain volume, and we represent that by a point in this diagram.
So just so we're all clear, the guy's giving a lecture on thermodynamic laws. And at the moment, just for the audience's benefit, he's actually detailing, I believe, PV equals nRT. But nevertheless, he moves on to the second law of thermodynamics, just so we're all clear what's being talked about.
That defines the state. That's called the state of the gas. We want to look at bulk macroscopic properties, of which pressure and volume is a complete pair. That's all you need. I think I reminded you that you don't need a third axis for temperature because we have this equation, PV equals nRT. So if you know P and V, you don't need temperature as another variable.
And just for the audience's clarity, V is volume, the space available to the gas, just so we're all clear.
That's called the equation of state. You can use this all the time. Whenever the gas has got a pressure and volume, feel free.
So just so we're clear, this guy's giving a university lecture at Yale, and he's specifically talking about gas within the descriptions of gas and how it behaves with these laws, thermodynamic laws. I think Brenda's done in this conversation. I mean, we'll listen just because it's only a couple of minutes long, and it's only got about, I don't know, a minute and a half left. But that's the end. She's just a lying piece of garbage that made up crap that wasn't true. The guy at Yale giving a lecture paid by your state that you all get behind and believe in makes it absolutely explicitly clear in his examples that he's using gas. He just said it.
I heard nothing that
equation
said
of state. You can use this all the time. Whenever the gas has got a pressure and volume, feel free to use PV equals nRT. I take a box and I put some gas molecule.
So the second law on Blackboard at Yale, most assuredly, is what he's detailing when detailing the second law of thermodynamics with gas that Brenda denied. No such law. They're teaching it at Yale. Just remove her from the conversation. I don't want to talk to her anymore. She's only here to deceive my audience and lie to them. The man at Yale isn't lying when he describes gas filling space when detailing very specifically the second law of thermodynamics as written on the Blackboard by this man at Yale. Okay? No longer part of this conversation, my friend Brenda. I don't want to talk to you anymore.
This premix and that premix over there real quick, just so we don't forget it, because it's been getting forgotten and shit. Yeah.
Are they bringing another one or just?
As far as I know, just one. And because this is like gel and bayrite, instead of...
I think he's hot micing.
Whatever.
Sorry, guys.
Nevertheless, Brenda's argument has been refuted. She says nothing to do with gas. The second law of thermodynamics violation description of entropic increase would have gas fill space as just lectured at Yale. Everything to do with gas, everything to do with the second law. It said second law on the Blackboard, and its description used gas and how it fills a vacuum, a space available to it. V in PV equals nRT, the volume. So, in conclusion, we are correct. It is absolutely a gas law. It is absolutely how gas behaves. It is lectured by Yale. Brenda, on the other hand, is a half-wit clown who is here to lie to people, and just did. Therefore, I don't want to engage with her anymore in conversation. She is fundamentally just been demonstrated to be a liar when she said, number one, the law doesn't exist. Number two, it has nothing to do with gas. Yes, it does exist. Yes, it's just been described by a Yale lecturer with gas as the example. Remove her from the conversation. She no longer has a place at the table.
Yeah, she's removed. But further to that, Nathan, I'd like to say that she also said that it's not an irreversible change due to the fact that a force could be applied to it. Now, that's an incorrect statement as well.
Let's hear
in the chat at 21 minutes past the hour.
Just one sec. Let's hear what Yale has to say.
Yes.
Now that's like perfume leaking out of the bottle. Hot and cold, when mixed, will never separate back into hot and cold. A gas, that genie that got out of the bottle won't go back. This gas that came out won't go back. There's a whole lot of processes which we call irreversible.
There is a whole lot of processes described by analogy with him with perfume gas leaking out of the bottle and never going back in. An irreversible process. Once gas developed from ground level, escaped into the vacuum, it would never return, like perfume leaking out of a bottle, like the second law of thermodynamics description of entropic dispersion, like being lectured about here specifically with gas dispersion and how that process is irreversible. What's it that Brenda the Globe Believer had to say to the audience? Not irreversible. I see. That's why she hasn't got a place at the table.
I would like to say.
Go ahead, John.
I would like to say what she thought was a loophole in her unless was going to appeal to a downward vector force that she would say is gravity. But down is with respect to horizontal plane of reference. You think you live on a ball. So, no, it's not a downward force. You're wrong.
100 people watching. Please share the show if you've not done so already. A very warm welcome to all of you who've just joined us. If so, you've probably only joined because lots of people in the live audience have shared the show. So thank you for sharing. Thank you for joining. Please share the show if you haven't done so already.
Is the concept of an irreversible process, does that only apply to a closed system?
The description in entropy that he just gave applied in a closed system, but equally, gas will always disperse into volumes, as in PV equals nRT, like he explained.
Yeah. That expansion of the gas, as AJ said, is an irreversible process, right? But if you apply work from outside the system, you can reverse the process. It's only within the closed system where entropy must increase that you cannot reverse an irreversible process.
Well, it's not quite like that.
If you have an open system, you can reverse those processes.
Right, in an open system, like what?
Yeah.
What open
But the universe as a whole, its entropy will increase, but you can decrease the entropy of that gas and push it back into the other side of the container.
Well, you're begging the question of a sky.
Not without the surroundings, not without the surroundings doing work.
Exactly. That's right.
That's correct. So now the gas does no work on the surroundings, therefore that's not possible, which means it's an irreversible change. There's nothing in the surroundings that can recompress those gases.
In a closed system, correct.
Nature wouldn't do
In an
that
open
anyway.
system.
Mm.
So the most widely
No, in an
cited
open system,
examples-
anything
hang
can
on.
happen, right?
The most widely cited example of an irreversible change is the free expansion of a gas into a vacuum. Although the system can always be restored to its original state by recompressing the gas, this would require that the surroundings perform work on the gas. Since the gas does no work on the surroundings in a free expansion, the external pressure is zero. So P equals O. There will be a permanent change in the surroundings. Another example of the irreversible change is a conversion of mechanical work into friction heat. There is no way by reversing the motion of weight along a surface that the heat released due to friction can be restored to the system. So both are saying they're irreversible.
Yeah,
because
but
the
it's
external cannot perform the work required because the gas does no work on the system itself.
But you have to, I guess the key thing I was trying to bring up there is that the second law is applying to closed systems, right? That you have to look at the entire system when you consider the change in entropy of the system.
Okay, fine. So
no,
without
it's actually
just
stated
one sec,
right
AJ.
here.
Just one sec. Yeah, I got that the first time. So you're saying no, it doesn't behave like that in an open system. Okay, fine. Can you demonstrate to me gas pressure without a container? Without begging the question.
So gas pressure, right, is the pressure exerted by a gas against something resisting the gas, right? That is what gas pressure is. So it can be a container, it can be another gas, it can be anything that can resist the force of that gas.
No, you're making baseless assertions. No, you're now telling me that gas can contain gas. Right, you can have dynamic systems, but no, I'm asking you to show me, as you've suggested that this is possible, and then when it's defined as something, in your case, open system, fine, okay. So now we're going to need an example. Without you begging the question of there being a sky vacuum, can you give me a demonstration of gas pressure without a container?
So in aerodynamic flow, we create gas pressures, right?
That's already an existing...
Gas pressure is caused by other gases, right?
No.
Oh, you have existing pressure, yes.
That means stop.
That. Yes, I'll grant you that.
No, I'm contradicting you because no, that already takes place in existing gas pressure. So for that example, you'd need to first have a contained system to have gas pressure to give that example. So can you refrain from taking... I'm just challenging you. I understand, like everybody so far on this show, when I correct their garbage nonsense that's incorrect, they like yammering through me. No, I'd prefer that when I ask you for initial gas pressure without containment, you don't take an already existing gas pressure that would require containment and then give your example taking place in already existent gas pressure. Please don't do that again. I'll ask a third time. Can you give me an example without begging the question of a sky vacuum of gas pressure without a container?
Well, if you vaporize a solid, it will generate and cause it to generate a gas. That gas will have pressure even though it's expanding to fill the vacuum around it. There will be pressure in that gas. It will eventually expand and dissipate, but there will be pressure in the gas while it's expanding.
I heard. So the first gas particle comes out of the ground in the heliocentric garbage world of a sphere Earth. The very first gas particle leaves the ground. According to you, after it's left the surface, it is, strictly speaking, creating a pressure as it travels in the vector. Yeah, fine. But it's going to still... I'm still talking, rebutting your garbage. Yeah, I'm still talking. I know it's painful to hear your garbage ripped to shreds by a flat earther. I know it'd be easier if you just carried on talking through the top of me. I understand. I've done this for a long time. Meanwhile, that first gas particle, there's the second attempt to refute his garbage. This is obviously a zealot with a globe belief he can't relinquish and will not tolerate anything that challenges it. No, even within your example, where the very first gas particle, you're just going to have to mute him because it's the third attempt to refute him. In his example, as the gas travels out from a solid releasing gas upon phase change, according to him, when it creates the gas is ipso facto developing a gas pressure because it's gone from a seemingly static state, not absolute zero, let's be clear, and then moving, therefore pressure. Fine, I'll agree. It's still doing what gas does, regardless of you defining that as it's moving, it's now developed a gas pressure. Yeah, fine. But unless it presses on something, it's going to continue in that vector as per the second law of thermodynamics into the sky vacuum. So this solid turned into a gas. Now I'm summarizing because you interrupted it 3 times. I'm having to summarize it. It's dragging out the process. You interrupting. Because it's been changed from a gas, from a solid into a gas, and then left the Earth's surface into the sky vacuum, 10 to the minus 17 torr at sea level. It's never going to come back. It's going to change vector, never, because it's got nothing to collide with. And so will be the case with the second gas particle and the third gas particle, regardless of you saying, well, it's developed pressure when it went from being solid to gas. Yeah, fine. It's still moving in the same vector and dispersing. So we'd have no gas on Earth. Outer space is still fake. Gas fills space.
Yeah. So we just backpedal to something your guy from, was it Harvard, the little clip you played before?
Yale.
He said that PV equals nRT applies to any volume you care to choose. So at any point in time, that expanding gas will obey PV equals nRT. You can draw an arbitrary boundary around the gas, and within that boundary, PV equals nRT will be satisfied.
Stop. When did he say arbitrary boundary? I didn't hear him say that.
He said any volume.
Yeah, to have a volume, it would have to be in containment.
No.
Oh, okay.
A volume is just a
fine.
three-dimensional
Fine.
space.
So you say no. You say open system. Okay. So let's take the volume V as outer space, because there's no containment for globe Earth, right? So the V would be space then.
Eventually, yes, the volume will approach
so gas would fill the space. So yeah, I'm winning. No need to rumpus me. Yeah, so V in PV equals nRT for you with your heliocentric sky vacuum religion would be the entirety of space, and gas would be filling that volume in line with that entropic law, regardless of your arbitrary ascribing of a non-container around the volume of space. Good for you. Yeah, gas would still be filling that V. It's the volume that the gas can fill and will, according to that Yale lecturer when he described gas dispersion into the volume. Your volume would be the whole of space, and gas would be filling it. It isn't. It's a violation of natural law still. Hope that's clear.
Well, it's only a violation of natural law if it stops expanding and nothing is stopping it.
Like at the Kármán line.
If something is applying a force to that gas.
Excuse me. Like at the Kármán line in your religion, that sort of non-arbitrary barrier that's not a barrier with a non-container. Maybe if you chant through the fact that I'm literally ascribing your own words to your religious belief of non-containment at the Kármán line. Yet you do have that violation of natural law. The arbitrary volume you ascribe to our atmosphere, oxymoron, sphere-shaped air, is at the Kármán line. It's not a barrier, it's not a container, it's not doing anything. It's a completely arbitrary value ascribed to a sphere Earth that's been measured flat to give you that inference. Meanwhile, that's arbitrary. The volume is actually space. Some arbitrary made-up volume at the Kármán line won't be the volume because the volume is space. The space it can fill. The volume available. That would be space, we'd all be dead.
Exactly.
Outer space is fake.
You're spot on. The Kármán line has no physical bearing on anything at all. It's just an arbitrary decision point where the vacuum is low enough to say it's good enough to be a vacuum.
No, that's a second law of thermodynamics violation. Gas fills vacuums. It's a space, a volume for the gas to fill, and gas fills it unless it's restricted by a barrier for it to press on and develop pressure. Now, in the heliocentric model, while you chant through my response that destroys your religious deceit that you seem to be peddling now, because, no, mate, it's a violation of natural law, that which you've just described with an arbitrary volume that isn't containing the gas, when the actual volume in your heliocentric religion is space. All of it. The volume of space that the gas would be filling, but just isn't, according to your priests, speaking about areas where they look back on high-pressure gas, surrounded by a black area of a volume, and go, wow, look at the amazing view I have from Narnia. No, they don't. It's a violation of natural law. That gas that they're looking back at in the form of clouds on a blue marble, that would be expanding into the 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum around it in the black area that they claim is around that garbage nonsense that you believe in. It's a violation of natural law. Nothing that you've said overcame that.
So I'm sitting here and I pull out my phone, and where's it gone? And my phone tells me the air pressure on my desk is 1,002 hectopascals, 1,002.1. I lift my phone up and I touch it to the ceiling, and it's 1,001.9. So it's dropped a couple of fractions of a hectopascal floor to ceiling. It does this all the time. Doesn't matter what the weather is, whether it's hot or cold. There's a pressure difference between the floor and the ceiling in my room. Same outside. Doesn't matter if it's windy or if I'm in the sun or whatever. There's this pressure gradient. Why don't I have this constant upwards flow of gas from the floor to the ceiling caused by the second law of thermodynamics?
No,
Sorry,
it's not
John,
the question. The question should be.
He's appealing to Delta X.
The question shouldn't be
who are
why do-
regulars.
Right. Yeah. The question shouldn't be why do I have this thing as a result of pressure?
Sorry, John, just before
Why
you carry
does
on.
this thing that
John, I've already appealed to him once. His first example was differentials, presumably with the Bernoulli effect within a contained system that already had gas pressure, and now he's attempted it for a second time. Maybe he thought a second crack of the whip for something I've specifically asked him. Now he's going to interrupt. He's detected that there's something embarrassing coming his way when he's already asked, like the one-trick pony he is, to not do this. Yeah, so why do I have a gas pressure gradient? Well, you'd first have to have a gas pressure to have gas pressure gradients. You'd need containment. And there's the second interruption from a fundamentalist religious zealot having his ignorance and second attempt to appeal to already in existent gas pressure that will develop a secondary cycle to give us gradients. Yeah, all of these require containment in the first instance. What you have done in a fallacious manner is appealed to Delta X rather than answering or rebutting the actual fact of the matter, that to have the gas pressure to develop a gas pressure gradient, for you to appeal to me to answer why we have a gas pressure gradient, that's a delta of gas pressure, when I've already told you not to do that, just seems like some arsehole who doesn't really listen and has only got one trick up his sleeve to appeal to an argument that already takes place with an existing gas pressure that would require containment. So your appeal to Delta X gas pressure gradients fails miserably. By the way, shockingly, this might. I've got something to summarise after your loss. That wasn't an invitation for you to start yammering after your pathetic, fallacious attempt to try and get one over on me with Delta X. After I've absolutely ripped you a new asshole, I'm going to make a further point to you, the guy who now thinks it's an invitation to talk. No, Mr. Ignorant, you've already been told now twice, don't do that. So I'm telling you off. The first time was a warning, now I'm having to tell you off. Listen to me, one-trick pony. Don't appeal to Delta X. In order to have gas pressure in the first place, you need containment. For you in a sky vacuum, you'd have a volume, and there he goes again. He doesn't like it. He's belligerent, in spite of his demonstrated ignorance, and despite of his rebellion against absolutely affirmed and understood facts that he won't appeal to Delta X after his first airplane wing attempt. No, mate, you're stupid and belligerent. You're getting told off by a flat earther. Does this come as a shock? Does it? When you appeal to Delta X like you're smart, telling me that you've raised up your phone? No, mate, it's not my first rodeo, and you're going to be shocked by this. That was not an original argument. Believe it or not, I have heard other complete idiots appeal to Delta X for a gas pressure gradient no less than 1,000 times. So perhaps you thought you were smart. Perhaps you thought you were original. You're not. You are standard rank and file dumb fuck globe believer who feels that this might also be an invitation for you to talk. No, you're getting told off, son. Next time, for the third time, don't appeal to Delta X. When the volume of your sky vacuum is described in natural law as an area gas would fill, prior to us being able to develop a pressurized system, for you to then appeal to the delta of that gas pressurized system in containment. Now I've finished, You may respond after getting my goat up. Idiot.
Cool. So I guess I've got a
Also,
question.
there is
What is delta X that we're talking about here?
Are you having me on? Gas pressure
No.
and gas
Oh,
pressure.
delta P.
Oh,
you
maybe
mean.
if you keep talking through me having to answer your stupid, ignorant question that doesn't know the difference between the principal factor, which is gas pressure, and a delta of that principle, which is a gas pressure gradient. First, that's
Yes.
before the delta, as he starts talking again, of course, he's an idiot. No, you're being educated, Dumbo. Can you shut your mouth? You asked, I'm answering you. The reason I'm having to answer you is because you're ignorant. Now, when you're ignorant, that means shut your bleeding mouth, open your friggin' ears, and listen to the answer to the question you just asked. Otherwise, you'll be removed because you're getting my blood pressure too high. You're irritating. You're a standard moron who irritates me with your stupidity, your questions that you should know the answers to, given you're arguing this stuff with delta X. First, gas pressure. That requires the antecedent of containment for you to press on. Then, and only then, do you have the delta of gas pressure, which is a gas pressure gradient. Didn't get there quite without him talking, obviously. Triggered. Or is that you,
It
John?
wasn't me.
My bad.
Also, it was me. I was going to say also when he appealed to raising his phone up, that was with respect to a horizontal plane of reference. He thinks he lives on a sphere.
No, it was vertical.
Stop using the word.
It was up to vertical.
He's chanting through you. What he's pointing out is that in order for you to describe up on a globe isn't possible because you have no horizontal plane of reference to have an up in the vertical perpendicular to it. Now, as he's obviously got his mic wide open, we're just waiting for his turn to talk. Standard rank and file moron globally. They're just thinking that it's his invitation to talk when he's being educated about his dumbass assertion of up, perpendicular to a horizontal plane of reference for his phone to give him an altitude, to tell him how up from a flat plane it is. Now, while I go on, thank you, John, by the way, cool, very cool, back on track. While I go on to utilise your example of raising in elevation with respect to sea level, that's a horizontal plane of reference, a measured flat Earth, for you to give how high your phone was, to then tell me about how delta X will somehow solve a sky vacuum violation of natural law. No, your delta X was crap, we've heard it 1,000 times. It does not in any way overcome the fact you need a container for gas pressure. The fact that volumes of areas of your sky vacuum would be where the gas would all be, and we'd all be dead. Nothing you've said has overcome that, or is in any way original. Meanwhile, what you did have in your example was a flat Earth proof. When you gave the height of your phone, the height was with respect to sea level. A flat Earth only declaration. So you proved the flat Earth when you gave us the height of your phone. Do you know what you should have said on a globe?
Is my go now?
No, I'm asking you a question. That was a statement. It wasn't an invitation. You're showing how stupid you are. Nobody had a question mark at the end of anything. I made a load of statements. I'm asking you now after those statements, and he still thinks it's his turn to talk. No, it isn't. But I will ask you a question. What should you have said instead of proving a flat Earth with up? Do you know what the term should have been for you on a globe with your globe faith derived from flat Earth measurements?
Vertical.
No, that's flat Earth requiring. We've just gone through that literally 30 seconds ago.
Vertical's
maybe if you weren't talking while I went through it 30 seconds ago. Vertical is perpendicular. Shut him up, mute him. He's a chanting zealot. He doesn't like being wrong. He's like your standard everyday 1,000 times repeating delta X gas pressure gradient moron. Like all of them. He thinks it's his turn to talk. It isn't.
Silence him.
Vertical is a description that is perpendicular to horizontal. Now, in terms of having a plane of reference to describe how high you are from it, that is sea level. Now, that is not globe-based. Now, after detailing this for a second time, and you just not understanding because you talk the whole time, I ask it after making declarations of fact, not asking you a damn thing. Now I'm asking you what you should have said on a globe. You didn't know. You said vertical. So we, the learned people in your religion, will tell you. For you, it's out from the centre of a sphere. Obviously, that's not going to give you a height with respect to sea level on a phone that doesn't use that. That's a flat Earth prerequisite, as he chants, through the devastating fact that the prerequisite is a flat Earth and sea level. He needs to say out. I asked him, he didn't answer. He said vertical incorrectly. It needs a flat Earth for that. But what, it's still your turn to talk while I'm still talking? No, I'm trying to teach you stuff. You didn't listen the first time. You obviously haven't listened the second time. It was out, the answer to my question. It'd be nice if you acknowledged that which you got wrong when you tried to comport with your religious belief of being on a sphere. Where you said up, you proved a flat Earth with respect to sea level. You should have said out. Do you understand?
Out. Okay. So I don't want to divert from the gas thing for too long. But if I grab a plumb bob, all right, how does that know what horizontal is?
Perpendicular to it is what you get when you dangle a plumb bob.
But the plumb bob doesn't know anything about horizontal.
There's a follow-up
right?
question. There's a follow-up question in response. It's not just you leading the questions. You asked me about something, and I'm asking you something in response. It's not just you take charge of the questioning that's benign. Why?
Oh, sorry, I missed the question. Like you went on for quite a while, and I didn't.
It's my show. Is this guy stupid? I'm running a show. This is my show. You think I've been talking a bit long, do you? Shocking. You know, people pay me to talk. I earn my living talking, but what you think you should run the show, do you, Dumbo? No, mate, you're completely idiotic and appeal to Delta X like thousands of others before you. What, you think that you should have the mic to hear what my audience has heard from other idiots like you 1,000 times before? No, mate, no, you're not in charge, I am. Yeah. Meanwhile, out is what you should have described. You went, okay, like you didn't seem to want to acknowledge it, and are now asking me about plumb bobs. I respond, why would you ask about this flat Earth proving concept with perpendicular to horizontal, vertical, plumb bobs? This is a flat Earth proof. I asked why you would be asking about this flat Earth proof. I don't get it.
So, yeah, so my thing about vertical, Nathan, is that vertical is a physical property of the world around us, right? Plumb bobs work on vertical. Builders levels use vertical. Everything's trying to go up or down based on something that's pulling them, right? Horizontal is kind of an artifact that we derive from vertical. And so vertical is an inherent property of the world around us.
Right, John.
It doesn't prove that Earth is a globe or it's flat. It's just an inherent property.
Stop for a second. John.
No, I haven't finished. You had a good crack, mate.
Maybe if you were in charge, you'd be able to stop anybody whenever you liked. Meanwhile, it's my bleeding show, and I'll stop you as I damn well see fit, as I invite somebody to challenge you. That would be John. Unfortunately, the last time he tried to challenge somebody, his mic was a bit of a train wreck, so I'll give him another opportunity to do so, as it's my show. But maybe that's objectionable to you. Yeah, we know. I've tried to communicate with you, and you chant through me while I try and educate your dumb ass. I know what you're like. You're the same as everybody else who comes here with a globe belief. But I'm still going to invite one of my panel to debate with you based on what you've said about horizontal and vertical and how that is a prerequisite for an Earth that we live on. Yeah, I didn't interrupt you. I would have said welcome to flat Earth had I have interrupted you when you said that, because that is a flat Earth prerequisite. However, I will be passing the mic over to my panel member named John, otherwise known as Refracted Curvature. Okie dokie, John.
Hey, John.
Hey, yeah,
the have a friendly and open chat.
Aspect that you can show with a plumb bob, right? You can show.
Sorry, can you say that again?
Maybe when I told this dickhead that I was handing the mic to John, he, because he's stupid, like really idiotic, doesn't understand simple English.
Wow.
Maybe he thought that was his invitation to immediately start talking. Now, I am going to give you one more opportunity to actually listen to what we say. And if you interrupt, I'm not even going to do it. I'm going to suggest that the next time this asshole interrupts one of us, you just remove him. Because it's becoming unlistenable for my audience. We're not getting anywhere. It's just him yammering when I've told someone else they're going to get the mic. I'll try that again for the guy who's very stupid, the globe believer, standard fare, idiot globe believer. I will now slow it down a little so he can hopefully listen and pay attention and understand and comprehend. I'll now pass the mic to the same guy I just introduced 2.5 minutes ago, before you started yammering thinking it was your turn. It weren't. John, refracted curvature, go ahead.
God damn.
That vertical is a description
Was
of
that
up
him
and
interrupting?
down
Was
with
that sorry, John? Was that him?
No, it wasn't me. It wasn't
shut
me.
him
Sorry,
down.
John,
Whoever
I can't hear you,
interrupted,
man. You have to speak up.
Can you not tell by the type of question? Was that him interrupting is obviously directed not at you. Now, the guy who did interrupt needs to be server muted, because obviously they're just playing silly
He
buggers
is now.
Thank you.
It
Go
was
ahead, John.
Blue, and Blue's been muted. And sorry, Dazza is just asking. He's finding refracted curvature there a little bit quiet. Is he able to maybe turn his mic up, or just maybe speak a little bit closer to his mic, if that's possible?
Go ahead, John.
All right. Well, up and down on the vertical aspect is with respect to the horizontal, just as moving along the horizontal is with respect to the vertical. These ideas are codependent and relying upon the other one for its own existence. It is not just a concept that we made up with respect to vertical, because there's this thing that exists we call the horizon, and that is how we establish a 90 degrees perpendicular with that piece of string. So we didn't make up horizontal. We see the horizon and we develop that concept from the horizon. That's not true, that horizontal is what we just made up because of vertical. No.
Yeah, so I agree that horizontal and vertical have that relationship. That's true. But I guess my perspective, John, is that the vertical can be established without reference to anything. You can be in the dark. You can be, you don't need horizontal to establish a vertical, and it's a physical characteristic of the world around us. And yeah, you're correct. It's related to horizontal, that you can establish that relationship. That's fine. But vertical is in its own right an independently discoverable property of the world around us. So, plumb bobs, just
No,
do
it's
it.
not independent.
Well, it is.
Okay,
in that
we heard
you're wrong
you.
about
We
that.
heard you. Now John's going to respond.
Yeah, sorry, John, go.
Yeah, the part where you said it's independent. No, it's not. It is dependent upon horizontal, just as horizontal is dependent upon vertical. Those concepts are interlocked, like when you're talking about pressure and temperature with gas. You're not going to be able to just arbitrarily say it's just this one and forget everything. It's just a point on this line that I'm going to arbitrarily draw. No, you can't do that. You don't have vertical without horizontal. You don't have horizontal without vertical. And horizontal's got to be eye level or surface level in every description you're going to give. So it's a flat earth, dude. I don't know what else to tell you.
Just going to do a quick shout out. I'm really sorry. I've got a mortgage to pay. So shout out to Roger Ledwell. Don't put the cart before the donkey. Thank you for the super chat. And also Jardo, who says, membership warning in 30 seconds. I think he's going to spam the viewing public with free memberships. So check it out. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. So, John, I don't disagree that vertical and horizontal are intrinsically related like that, and that you can derive vertical from horizontal, which is what you do with the sextant when you do the horizon dip and subtract it. You're effectively finding vertical, but vertical can also be truly found independently of horizontal.
May I ask, what are you using to find that vertical? Are you using horizontal, your eye level as a horizontal, surface level as a horizontal? Aren't you doing that?
Sorry, which horizontal are we talking about here?
There's two involved
The
in
one in
direction.
Try
There's
that,
surface
try that
level
again,
and
John.
eye
He's,
level.
he's obviously your answer's troubling.
Yeah.
Try that again,
Yeah.
John.
So
try
in the
that
case
again,
of dip
John. So
correction,
try that
right?
again, John, about the two horizontal surface level and eye level that are absolutely required. You asked him if he's not referring to those surface level and eye. That's where we're at.
Yeah, that's it. If you're talking about dip correction, you're utilizing your eye level as a horizontal plane of reference, and so you're drawing a line from your eye
Yes.
to where surface level appears to meet the sky. That is a parallel plane. You have two parallel planes you're drawing for this dip correction. It's still a plane, though.
Yeah. So we probably got a bit off topic, but yeah. So the we don't want to go into celestial navigation now, do we, Nathan? Or not?
You did. But what you mean is,
Yeah,
you don't want to get into celestial navigation. Now it requires surface level be a horizontal plane of reference. And in order for us to do any corrections for dip as you brought it up, we'd need eye level to be parallel with it. And obviously, given that the principle of vertical is tied directly to it, vertical is going to be vertical all the way along that horizontal plane of reference. Now, this as a declaration at the end where you thought we were going a bit off topic, off the topic that you brought up. No, you brought it up and now we're proving a flat earth with it because you need horizontal planes of reference, surface level and eye level, proving earth is measured flat in this regard. Not off topic, you brought it up. I don't know why you'd say that seems really stupid. You went off topic when you brought it up and then we proved a flat earth with it. No, we just proved a flat earth.
Yeah, it was unintentional, I'll admit that. Yeah.
I know you didn't intend to prove a flat earth when you described horizontal planes of reference that we are measuring for elevation angles in celestial navigation with the sextant, and how they definitely need a horizontal surface level and eye level parallel with one another to prove that we are measuring a flat earth. You unintentionally brought up a subject that proves earth is being measured flat. I know you didn't intend to do that. You did. Earth is being measured flat, though, in that process.
Well, I would also like to invite him to check out any of the Earth curve calculators he believes in. Choose the best one, and you'll notice that what you call a tangent when you're talking to us, it's labeled with a name. It's got a specific name called circle that's drawn from the foot with respect to vertical, horizontally, out ad infinitum. So there's that line.
You broke it. You broke it when you said the most important word, surface level, the tangent. He was just
and I'm not sure where you're posting.
He broke up while he said it. Maybe if you talk through it, it won't be as painful and you won't have to listen to it. But meanwhile, the surface level in earth curve maths, you call it a tangent sometimes, but it's actually surface level. It's labelled that way in the maths. That was his point. It's horizontal.
So you'd be also aware in the maths that once you've taken that horizontal and the elevation angle of your celestial object, you then use it to calculate the co-altitude angle, right, which is up to vertical. And then you take that co-altitude angle and effectively multiply it by 60 nautical miles per degree to get your distance to the GP. That's the fundamental geometry of celestial navigation. 60 nautical miles per degree as per the co-altitude angle from...
Yeah.
Sorry, John, I didn't hear you say that again.
From 90 times by 60, yeah. That would mean that you've got 90 at the end of that triangle, though, at the base of the star, at the other end of the flat baseline, the horizontal plane of reference that we're measuring for this angle. That means that 90 degrees below the star, there is a flat Earth between you and that position below the star that you're measuring a line of sight to the star with. Horizontal baseline between you and the 90-degree point. So when you minus from 90, then you turn that angle measurement with a sextant on a boat into the co-altitude angle, which you can then times by 60 to calculate that distance 60, to that point on the ground. You don't have to yammer your yes through me. We're just pointing out how Earth's being measured flat with this. It's a flat baseline between you and the
Right.
distance between the stars, GP, and yourself once you do that calculation. But the measurement itself requires you measure Earth as a flat plane. To just take the angle itself, the angle of elevation is a flat Earth measurement.
Sorry, John,
because
were you
you
going
can
to
do
say something then?
the
I thought-
angle of elevation with the stick in the ground and a flat area, right? And just get your angle
Mm,
to the celestial object. You could do the same thing. All you need is a parallel plane with mean sea level, a parallel plane, all horizontal all the way up.
Mm.
That's what level is.
Yep.
Level is your first person view
Yeah.
of horizontal. Horizontal is like third person mathematical representation to communicate the idea of the plane we exist atop.
Yeah, the stick thing, and the length of the angle's a good one. Do you know the other backyard celestial navigation tool that you can produce without too much hassle?
This is fun and all, but we've just proved
it's a
Earth is
plumb
measured.
bob and a protractor.
Fun that it is. We've just proven Earth is measured flat.
So Nathan, did you know that you can do celestial navigation?
Would it be easy if we had a quick subject change? Quick, easy subject change?
With a plumb bob.
No, I'm
and a
not having the
protractor,
subject
no?
change and you're not in charge of the discussion. At this point, you
Would it
brought
be-
up a subject. If you're not going to listen to me and conclude a point with me and just subject change, yeah, I'll highlight that. I'll lean on that. This guy's fundamentally terrified because he's a globe believer in the fact that we have just concluded this point with an angle measurement with respect to a flat Earth. It's on screen now. Dave McKeegan, another videographer who covers this subject, fell victim to the exact same thing. Yeah? Because you can't have an elevation angle measurement on a globe. Excuse me. Why are you chanting through the top of my conclusion that Earth is being measured flat with an elevation angle measurement? Why was it that you chose that particular point to talk through me? I'll explain. It was rhetorical. It's because he's in fear of the Earth that is being measured flat with his own example. Now, rather than acknowledge that, which I'm going to ask him to do again in a moment when I finish, I'm in no doubt I'll be interrupted before I get to do it. But when I ask him for the second time, if he understands and appreciates that his own example of this angle measurement requires Earth be measured flat, and when he either acknowledges that or tries a subject change or a non sequitur again, we'll see how we go. I'll conclude with that fact in victory. We won't move on to a different question. But first, I need my opponent who brought this subject up, but definitely by mistake. Obviously, we got a bit off track with him bringing up this subject that he didn't want to bring up and that. Yeah, so we understand and appreciate together, all of us, that your example measures Earth flat for the elevation angle. You understand that. Before we move on, I need you to acknowledge that so I can conclude in victory. Do you understand we just measured Earth flat, son?
No, I think you're incorrect. And will you allow me to finish before you go and declare victory again?
I have one.
I'll take that as a yes.
No, I hadn't responded. Maybe if you leave a short enough pause for me to respond in the negative, that no, when you have 90 degrees to the GP of a star, that requires a flat baseline. So while you're going to yammer through the top of me, suggesting that I haven't already won when you and I have both got 90 degrees to the baseline and 90 degrees to your position, so we can minus that 90 in the calculation you gave. Minus from 90. Yeah, that's the 90 degree that you won't get from a curved surface.
No, what's the difference between vertical and horizontal?
So why is this a response to me saying you won't get 90 degrees from a curved surface? It's an angle measurement with respect to a baseline, and now I'm being asked about vertical and horizontal. It's an angle measurement. It's called an elevation angle. It proves Earth's measured flat. It must be to have 90 degrees to the GP of the star you're measuring, to minus it like you described in the calculation. Minus from 90, that's the degrees. You're minusing it off another right angle triangle to give you co-altitude. You explain this to us. That's a flat Earth prerequisite. You can't have 90 degrees below the star on the baseline if it's a curved surface, because it won't be an angle anymore.
Well,
You're correct.
So
it won't be
what
an
we can
angle
do-
anymore. We're sorry.
Whoever
We
that...
can measure it from the vertical, though, right? It is perfectly possible to do celestial navigation relative to verticals.
Oh, so you're saying if you take it with a plumb bob, you've already got the co-altitude?
Exactly.
And what are you
was 90
calculating? And
minus-
what? And there's my follow-up because I've already won. We're calculating for the ground position below the star. And the distance is...
You don't need to...
Sorry, what? Are you going to tell me I don't need to win? Because maybe if you chant through it, it won't seem like I've won when we're actually measuring ground positions below the star.
Yes.
Yeah, so that would be on the ground with a flat baseline. We're measuring that distance to draw out a flat circle of equal elevation with it. That's what we're doing with it. It must be flat because we're drawing a circle with that flat distance to the ground position. And the ground position has 90 degrees to your position. Now, I appreciate that while you wanted to decry my victory, and just for the audience's benefit, as you can see his light flashing on and on as I tell him that he's definitely lost. But in his mind, if he's talking at the key points where I've won, he can say I haven't. No, I have. The co-altitude is for a calculation of the GP on the parallel plane, surface level, sea level. Same thing you corrected to with your dip correction that you talked about. These are all parallel planes. Planes. Flat. You are measuring flat for the co-altitude, GP, ground position. If it's on the ground, it's at the end of a 90-degree triangle to your position. That's what it is. It can't be done if that line is bent.
Cool. So we agree that the co-altitude times 60 nautical miles is the distance to the ground position?
Only
For
possible
anybody?
on a flat Earth. Ergo, Earth is being measured flat. That distance is a straight, not bent line.
Mm-hmm.
So Earth is measured flat. We haven't got a curved surface between us and the GP.
So Nathan, if I can...
So Nathan isn't a yes. We haven't got a curved surface between us and the GP. Second time's a charm.
we do, actually, but...
We do? That seemed like a bit of a quiver in your voice. No, we don't. It wouldn't give you an angle. We haven't got a curved line between us and the GP because the 90-degree point would preclude you having an angle if that line was curved. You are incorrect. There is not third time's a charm with him chanting straight through the middle of me. Third time's a charm with you thinking that you're going to get away from this point. You see his light flashing, audience? That's him chanting through the top of me. Now, mate, I've got a show. I've dealt with thousands of people like you that think they can chant through the top. I just close your line when you do it so the audience doesn't have to tolerate your attempted obfuscation of the fact that it won't be a 90-degree angle at the GP if it's a curved line meeting it. Third time's a charm.
Mm.
The word you're looking for is yes. That's correct. It cannot be a curved line or it would not be an angle.
It's a curved line. And
No, it won't be an angle. It won't have 90. You can't have 90 degrees on a curved line. Definitely not. It seems this guy doesn't understand what angles are. Angles require straight lines, son. Do you not know what an angle is? Are you stupid? Do you think a curved line meeting a straight line will give you a 90 degree? What kind of idiot are you?
Angles just require lines.
Sorry,
but-
is that someone else chanting in because I've won and demolished this idiot with him saying that a curved line meeting a, what, perpendicular to a curved line, the GP's straight down. Yeah, it's running vertically to the ground position and you're measuring 90 degrees from your position. That cannot be curved or it wouldn't be 90. That's the fourth attempt.
where does
he
60
appealed
nautical...
to a vertex being like an angle being a vertex. Well, an angle is a vertex, but not all vertexes are angles. That's wrong.
Yeah, straight lines. You need straight line triangles. You keep saying you can have a curved line to give you 90. No, a curved line won't give you a 90-degree angle. That's straight lines that must be meeting it, and they're coming from your position to the ground position. A ground position is very specifically 90 degrees. If you're saying the point on the ground meeting it is curving, it isn't 90 degrees anymore. That's the fifth attempt.
If I have two distances from the ground position that, say, one is 10 miles, one is 20 miles, why doesn't that line up with the same triangle? So the 10-mile triangle and the 20-mile triangle don't have the same height.
Sorry, he didn't acknowledge. He's now taken it to the non sequitur of measuring the heights of the stars in the most ham-handed, pathetic way possible.
Okay.
Meanwhile, while he now starts chanting the fact that I'm pointing out his non sequitur fallacy about measuring heights of stars, I'm going to point out that I made 5 attempts for him to concede his logical fallacy and assertion that you can have a curved line meeting 90. No, straight lines meet 90, and now he's into la la land talking about heights. Flailing. Because he cannot, after 6 attempts, concede that you can't have a 90 degree at a GP position, that's ground position, it's on the ground, if the line meeting it is curved. I've made 7 attempts, and you think, what, we're going to talk about heights because you can't concede, you pathetic coward? It's a straight line meeting it at 90. 8 attempts. You may respond. It cannot be curved, as you asserted. You were incorrect. To be a 90-degree ground
You have
position.
60 nautical miles.
Maybe if you chance through the summary of the thing that he's got to concede, he won't have to listen to it. Yeah, I'll shut that shit down straight away. I'll try again for a 10th time, because you chanted through the 9th attempt. You're the silence after the 8th. So I'll try a 10th. Maybe if I tell you that I'm going to make a 10th attempt, you'll start chanting immediately like the fundamentalist
It is not a triangle.
zealot. Prove my point as I do it while you flail for my audience and they pay me to watch you do it. You're flailing. You know damn well it can't have a curved line meeting a ground position at 90 degrees because 90 degrees would have 2 straight lines, proving Earth's measured flat for the baseline. Thousands of miles in all directions you've got ground positions to stars, all on a flat Earth. Now he says it's curved and starts asking me about the heights. I've made 10 attempts for him to concede his error. Can't have curved lines meeting 90. That's 11 attempts, you pathetic globe-believing weasel. Do you like Flat Earther laughing at you as you flail? Because that's what's happening, son. Can't have a curved line meet at 90 at the ground position. You're wrong.
Describe me a triangle that for
That's non sequitur. He's now asking and demanding that I do something for him. I've made clear his error's been corrected. Curved lines won't meet 90-degree ground positions. So he's making demands of things that I should address. That's 12 attempts, mate. Do you think your pathetic attempt to flail away from this is anything more than amusement for my audience? I'll repeat it a 13th time if you need me to. You can't have a curved line, as you asserted, meeting a 90-degree ground position. 90 degrees is 2 straight lines, one of which is the ground, the baseline, meeting it at 90, thousands of miles away for all the different stars on the ground at 90 on a flat Earth. You said the ground position could have a curved line meeting it. You were wrong, and I've made 14 attempts to correct a fundamentalist religious zealot who cannot accept that Earth is being measured flat. I took my victory about 10 minutes ago. You, having told me that I didn't win, have made, 13 excellent rebuttals? Because I've now asked you 14 times the same thing and I haven't got a response to it. Curved line won't meet 90, mate. You're wrong. Earth isn't a sphere. Earth's measured
triangles
flat.
that increase.
How does
I don't think he's-
presupposing? How does presupposing?
Shut
Sorry,
Brenda up. Shut Brenda up. She's not going to white knight for this asshole. 14 times I've asked him and I'm going to get a response or he's going to run away. That's his only 2 options. Not white knighting.
Well, I don't think he's heard a word you said, yeah, because I've had him server muted, and every time I unmute him, he's still speaking and rambling in the background. So
Oh, okay.
I
No,
don't think
cool,
he
cool. Thank you for
realised he was
clarifying that.
server muted.
Okay, so when I'm assuming that I've actually got a bit of clear air for him to hear my actual claim put to him 14 times, what he's doing, like he's like, they're all one-trick ponies. What they do, right? Literally, what they do is they stick their fingers in their ears and go la 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 la, so that they don't have to listen. That is what they do, so that if they don't hear the fact that a curved line can't meet a ground position at 90 degrees, they won't have to respond to it. And they think that if they've talked the entire time, the rest of the panel who are around them in Discord won't have heard what I've put to him, so they won't back him up or back me up in support when he doesn't respond to it. It doesn't seem to the people in Discord like anything's wrong. He's got nothing to respond to because they haven't heard it either. Yeah, this trick has been employed for about the last 7 years. I mean, it is so pathetic. All it shows my audience is that rather than addressing the fact that 90 degrees to a baseline from your position along a flat Earth being measured with an elevation angle cannot be done with a curved line, as he asserted. As long as that's the last point he dropped into the conversation and doesn't hear any response, he will, delude himself that he's won? No, Earth's measured flat, mate. No amount of sticking your fingers in your ears and talking incessantly when I point that out 15 times will get you away from that fact. And no amount of Brenda coming along to save you will help you either. It just shows my audience how badly you globe believers have lost when we measure Earth flat. And we do. All you can do in response is tell us, no, it's a curved baseline. No, it isn't. 16 attempts later, the coward has got to either be... he's created a new option. It's not either respond or run away. It's never hear the claim in rebuttal or get removed. He's made 2 new options that are much easier to stomach for him. How quaint.
Well, he's whinging in the chat, so we'll give him one more chance and see how he goes.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, John. We'll reintroduce you back into it. I know I took the reins off you.
Yeah, I was just going to bring it back on topic because when he raised his phone up, that was with respect to horizontal. His description, when he was trying to talk about a gas pressure gradient in an upwards vector required horizontal boundary layers, he is now into using a flat Earth to try to prove a sky vacuum. It's not an easy place to cognitively exist.
Yeah, and anything that adds to the cognitive load will just be chanted through. I can't cope with another thing on top of all the stuff I'm currently dealing with. I'm trying to prove a sky vacuum with a phone that's lifting with respect to sea level and flat Earth proving elevations. And then he's telling me about my example that I definitely didn't want to go off topic with when I brought it up and proved a flat Earth with it, because curved lines can meet a 90-degree angle. That's where we're at. You can't cope with that. It's too much all at once.
It is. That would be rough. You know, because you're not only destroying his worldview, you're destroying his world now, too.
Yeah, bless.
It's not easy.
Yeah, I bet he
Don't
thought he was
feel
coming
destroyed.
here to tell us how
It's kind of
stupid we
weird.
were. He thought we were going to be the ones getting educated by him, didn't he? What a shock.
He's destroying
We'll
it.
give him a chance to answer the question.
Yes, I'll just get control of my G+. Yes, okay, right. The guy's going to now pipe up again. We'll see how we
So
get
how long
on.
have I got before I get muted again?
Well, it depends on whether
Am
you
I
answer
good-
the
am I
question
good to
or
go,
if you
AJ,
off
for a
onto
little bit?
tangent. Well, it just depends
Rightio.
whether you answer the question or you run off onto another tangent.
Okay, fair enough. So I don't feel destroyed. I'll tell you that. So are we sticking on the celestial navigation topic, or are we going to go back to gas?
Now, what
I've
I
got the
put it
feeling
to
wanted to
you,
go back to gas.
I'd put
No.
it to you that you can't have your assertion of a curved line meeting a 90-degree ground position. It must require a flat Earth baseline between you and the 90-degree ground position for you measuring any star out along a horizontal plane of reference. See, while I was explaining this, you had your mic wide open. It didn't seem like you wanted to listen. I'll try that again, hopefully with your mic closed of your own volition, rather than the server operators having to do it because you can't tolerate what I've said. I'll repeat it a second time. The way we left off when you started chanting through 15 attempts of me trying to explain that your assertion we can have a curved line meeting a ground position at 90 degrees is garbage and wrong. I was attempting to correct you. I took 15 attempts with you chanting through me. So now that we've got you under control, maybe you can cope with an answer when I put it to you now that you were incorrect when you say a curved line can meet a position that is specifically 90 degrees, therefore requires a flat baseline to be meeting it, and that's a flat Earth that's being measured. I'd like you to acknowledge that. Before we move on to anything else, furthermore, there is a little caveat. Once you acknowledge that there won't be a curved line meeting a 90 degree anything ever, I'll bask in victory and then we'll move on, just so we're clear what's going to happen. You may respond to the 90 degree not bent line that you can't have as you declared.
Okay, so thank you very much. Once again, I feel undefeated, but I think you're wrong, Nathan, that my understanding of the geometry is that the 60 degrees per nautical mile is the pivotal thing here, right? That's the property of a sphere. And there is no
that's incorrect.
Flat plane geometry
That's
that
incorrect.
will align
That's incorrect.
that.
Do you want to keep going? You were wrong again. Miles derived.
Have you ever actually
nautical
done
miles
a
isn't a
celestial
flat Earth.
fix?
No, he's not going to tolerate it. You were wrong, but no, you won't stand the correction. You just ascribed distances in miles nautical to a globe. No, they're derived off a flat plane. with respect to the angle measurements to Polaris off a flat plane. You were just incorrect. You thought they were globe related. They're not. They're flat Earth measurements. They're straight line distances for one. Excuse me, I'm still correcting you, dumbass. That's what you think you're educating me when I'm correcting you when you were wrong and ascribe a flat straight. No, maybe you'll get muted by one of the server operators because now it's painful. Because I'm pointing out that flat straight line distances, that's miles, cannot be spherical. There's flat straight line distances for one. Secondly, the derivation of that actual number, 4 nautical miles, comes from a flat angle measurement with 90 degrees to Polaris. Same argument we're having that you can't have a curved line meeting Polaris, because we're deriving the angles in recession to the horizon to give you this nautical mile distance on a flat plane. It's a straight flat mile measurement distance, not in relation to a sphere distance. You were wrong when you said that. That's why I stopped you. Now, I doubt for 1 second that he hasn't babbled through the fact that he's had to be server muted while I corrected his dumbass about straight, flat distances that he ascribed to a globe incorrectly.
I love how you got mad at him for interrupting you when you interrupted him.
Is that a white knight helping him out while I point out that miles are a straight, flat distance derived from Polaris measurements with angles with 90 degrees below Polaris? Maybe a white knight needs to tell me about my attitude when I win and prove how Earth's measured flat. I'll just mute that line when some arsehole decides that they're going to rumpus the fact that we win. The flat earthers are perfectly righteous in berating your stupidity because you didn't know any of this stuff. In fact, you lie, the other guy did, had to lie, about having a curved line meeting something that's specifically defined as having a 90-degree angle. He said curved line meet. He still hasn't conceded it. What he did do is make the bold-faced assertion that he hadn't lost, rather than conceding the fact that 90 will never have a curve meeting it. That's what he actually did. Sad. A white knight's going to pipe up about how this is taking place in my attitude. Of course they will. Because we've won. Earth is measured flat with a flat baseline to a 90-degree angle below Polaris to derive these flat measurements of miles. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, the geometry does not say on a sphere. It says from inside a sphere with reference to the plane, the equatorial plane. That's how the geometry works. It is not on a sphere. It's in a sphere. So those two words, while they're really close, it's just that one letter off, and they're only 2 letters. So on and in are not the same thing, just like up and down are not the same as in and out.
This guy has no idea what you're talking about. When you're talking about projecting PZX triangles out from celestial planes at the centre of hell, he hasn't got a clue that's how it all works. If I even attempted to educate him in his
Missed the navigational triangle.
It. And right on cue, while I'm educating him about his religion, he's right on cue, talking straight through the middle of me. Look, dumbass, we know a hell of a lot more about your stupid globe religion than you do, right? We know how those flat Earth measurements that you failed to concede in 15 attempts get converted into hell to project out spherical triangles for your globe faith to have some sort of justification for flat Earth measurements. Now, we know this stuff because we have an advanced understanding in your heliocentric religion. You, on the other hand, are a standard rank-and-file moron who feels it's always his turn to talk. You're an idiot, mate. We know better than you do. I know that might be painful given that we're flat earthers and you feel like you should be the one with righteous indignation, being a globe believer and all. Well, no, mate, that is not the circumstances here. You don't know much about your religion. You just seem to profess to knowing something about celestial navigation. And then proving a flat Earth proves very difficult when you want to lie about having curved surfaces meet 90-degree ground positions. They don't. You still haven't conceded that, by the way.
So, yeah, you're right. I must have some fundamental misunderstanding. So you said something about Polaris and latitude, or Polaris and 60 degrees per nautical mile, how that was derived. So can you explain that to me?
No, I'd prefer that you understand that having 90 degrees to Polaris would mean that the line that you said was bent can't be, because it won't have 90 degrees to Polaris for my explanation. Okay. So far, I'm explaining something to somebody who thinks incorrectly while he interrupts my objection to explaining this to somebody who hasn't conceded to the fact that to have 90 degrees in my explanation to Polaris to derive nautical miles with that latitude measurement, you would need to understand at a base level that we'll have a flat baseline between us and the 90-degree point of Polaris. You wouldn't concede that. So how the hell am I going to explain it to you? You think a curved line will meet 90-degree points below Polaris. How can I explain it to you unless you concede Earth is measured flat for this derivation of an angle measurement with 90 degrees below Polaris? So before we move forward, with me educating you, the ignorant ball-believing clown who's very irritating and can't shut his mouth while I educate his dumbass, can you concede that we won't have a curved line meeting the 90-degree point below Polaris? And then we'll tell you our nautical miles are derived from that flat Earth measurement.
Well, I'm confused now.
We know.
Because my globe indoctrination tells me that Polaris is a very long way away, right? And for all practical purposes,
what does this have to do with what I asked you to concede? So he's going to non sequitur his way away with a little story. No, mate, I'm asking you to concede something, and I need you to concede it so I can answer your previous question about how we derive nautical miles. Now you're off into la-la land about what you believe, and I don't give a crap what you believe in this religious garbage that you call
trying to understand the angle
belief.
To Polaris.
I'm asking you to concede something I've already asked you to concede 16, nay 17 times, and you are chanting through the repetition, this now the third, in a second attempt in a series of 17, of me getting you to concede that we can't have a curved line meeting a 90-degree ground position below Polaris, for me to further expand on and expound on how we will derive a nautical mile measurement from that flat Earth angle along a flat baseline with 90 degrees of Polaris, because at this point you think a curved line meets that point, and it doesn't. You were wrong. I've now made 18 attempts to correct that. You won't have it. You're constantly off in non sequiturs.
Well, now I'm sorry, I thought you were done. Now
I'll be done when I give you bleeding permission to talk, rather than when you decide that I've been done because you haven't listened to a single word I said. From this point forth, you may talk when I give you permission. And if you don't yield to the fact that I'm in charge here, I'm going to ask the mods to remove you because you're really irritating me. I've made 19 attempts. Mods, just remove him. Just remove him, mods. Mods, remove him. Mods, remove him. Remove him from the call. He can't. I'm not going to do 20 attempts with him. I've just started the 19th attempt. He wouldn't allow it. So that's the end. I'm done. I'm not going to spend 19 times with a liar telling my audience a curved line can meet a 90-degree angle position at the base of a star called Polaris, and then expound on how we derive nautical mile measurements from that flat Earth measurement when he is under the misapprehension that a curved line can meet 90 degrees. It cannot, and he will never concede to it. So why the hell should we have him even here? It's not reasonable. It's obviously irritating to me. Garbage. This is what we get. It's rinse and repeat. We don't get anything new. None of you are original. We haven't had anything original from any of the globe believers thus far. What we do is get to the point where we prove a flat Earth with their example, and they cannot bear to hear it. It's absolutely pathetic. Unless this guy's got a curved line meeting a 90-degree round position, he won't have a conversation with me. Sad. Right, I'm going to do a couple of shout-outs as nobody's decided to interject in that little brief silence I left intentionally. Shout-out to Jan.
Oh, yeah, every time I try and speak.
No, it's only when I talk. See, it doesn't matter how long a protracted silence I leave. He's only here to antagonise me. So he's waiting for his opportunity to interrupt that next section that I introduce after a long invite, a protracted silence for him to talk. Nope, he wants to talk when I'm talking and only when I'm talking, right, audience? This is really original. This isn't something we've seen many times before, is it? It's completely original. Shout out to Jardo, who gifted 10 memberships. Really appreciate the support. Thank you very much indeed. And if you picked up one of those memberships, check out the Uncut and After show after we go live, because I will upload it once I finish recording it. Also, shout out to Roger Ledwell for hitting the super chat. He says, shout out to Virus. Why did you make me prove...
Gotta love this guy streaming in the voice chat. Hilarious.
This is what I do for a living. This is my show. You're on a show. You're on a show.
Great. We're trying to have. I mean, how is?
So while this guy tries to non sequitur away from the point, Earth's been measured flat. Yeah, and he couldn't accept that fact with the 90-degree measurement to ground positions below stars that requires Earth be a flat baseline. He's going to talk about my show. Yeah, this guy. Is that all you got, fundies? Pathetic. We're all laughing at you. Flat Earthers are now laughing at you for your ignorance. Hope you realise this. tables have very much turned in 2024. You're now sad, pathetic, ranting, delusional morons chanting about things like gravity. It's really sad. Like religious zealots on the street pounding Bibles going, "We have gravity!" And we're all laughing at you from the sidelines. Yeah, 19 times to accept that a 90-degree must have a flat line meeting it. I love it. I absolutely love it. How pathetic you globe believers have become in 2024. A different question for any globe believers. Do you enjoy us flat earthers mocking your ignorance now? That's where we're at. We're mocking you for how stupid you are demonstrating yourselves to be before us. No, nobody's blood boiling? No? Well, that's what's happening, lads and ladies. You're all being mocked by flat earthers who know a lot more about the world than you do. Not only a lot more about the world, a lot more about your religion about the world. Your globe religion and your sky vacuum religion. We know all about it. You guys have got a cursory understanding that you got from high school. What a shock when you find out it's all garbage.
Pretty hard to have a debate. I get muted immediately for just speaking.
Was that the same guy? You can't have a curved line meeting a 90-degree ground position.
What? This is not. I don't know who you're talking about, bro.
Sorry.
I'm someone completely different.
Mr. Jew. This is Mr. Jew, Nathan. He's someone completely different. But the reason you are muted, Mr. Jew, is because both times when you chose to speak were right in the middle of sentences, and the last one was complaining about the show, yeah? So...
Is this the Nathan show, or is this a flat earth debate channel? I don't understand.
Are you?
It's a sincere question.
I was about to answer you.
So this room is hosting Nathan here tonight and Nathan's show.
Got it. Okay. It's a sincere question, Nathan. You gotta, I don't understand why you're just so aggressive to people who are trying to have a conversation with you.
Would you like me to answer?
I guess. Kind of how conversations work, but you know what? It's your show. You do your thing.
Now I'm being told how conversations work. I ask, would you like an answer? I guess is the answer. I start answering. You start telling me how conversations run. What, with people immediately talking through the request for an answer and an affirmation that you definitely do want it? Maybe our conversation runs as you immediately start talking through me. This is why I'm irritated. Because that's generally what's happened in 19 attempts for a zealot globe believer who told me that I can have a curved line meeting a 90-degree position on the ground. I told him 19 times. Now, I doubt you heard that rebuttal once, because what he did was talk like you're now talking, straight through the top of me. And that's really irritating. And because you're doing it, I'm going to call you names. Yeah? If I'm of that inclination.
Wanker.
Yeah, that kind of name.
How am I talking through you?
Well, I'm talking and you've decided to talk as I talk. That's talking through me. Meanwhile, the guy didn't respond in 19 attempts to his incorrect assertion that you can have a curved line meeting a 90-degree point.
Move on to a different subject.
And it would seem that while I'm pointing out to this guy, and I had the line closed, he started talking while I pointed it out to him. Isn't that interesting, audience?
Yeah, because you've said it 4 times now. I'm asking if you can change, if we can change the subject, talk about something else. The guy's muted.
Okay, I'll answer you. I'll answer you. Let me answer you. Can everyone else who's not him please be muted? No, the answer to your question is, can we change the subject from a flat Earth elevation angle measurement proving we measure Earth flat?
Except that's not what you're talking about. You're just going on and on about your 19.
He doesn't know how to have a conversation. I don't want this to continue. Please, can you stop this guy from talking to me? Thank you. Yeah, I'm in charge, mate, and I'm just going to appeal to the mods because you're a wanker to shut you up. Yeah. No.
Bloody wanker.
He is, yeah. Anyway, so I pointed out to another guy 19 times, and now this guy 5 times before he had to be server muted because he wanted to change the subject. It was painful. He asked if he could have a subject change. I was responding, no. No, I'm going to keep proving that Earth's measured flat because all of the mapping systems and indeed globe beliefs are derived from these flat Earth measurements. These angle measurements of a flat baseline with 90 degrees below Polaris gives us our latitude system that gets stretched around a globe after measuring it flat. So your globe belief is reliant on these measurements. So when you ask if we can change the subject from the origins of your globe belief, that would be measurements of a flat Earth with Polaris at the centre, I'm going to go with no. I'm going to go with I will prove to my audience over and over again just how Earth is measured flat and how that flat Earth measurement is used for you to believe in a globe that comes from those measurements. A calculated globe that you reify into existence with sky vacuums around it in violation of natural laws. That's what I'll do. When you ask me if we can change the subject, the answer will be no. Hope that answers his question.
Imagine Nathan, imagine believing you live on a globe, and then you eventually find out that the globe that you think you live on is flat, and it's measured like that. How bizarre.
I'd want to change the
I
subject
get
to...
excited when they say, can we have a conversation change? It's like, really? This is how painful it is? Keep going.
Yeah. Don't want to talk about how flat it's measured, do they? No. Don't want that.
Even if we're telling them how their globe came from those measurements, they still don't want to hear it. I mean, we try and give them a higher level of understanding when it comes to their globe religion, and they don't want to hear it. We're like, no, you've got latitude lines around your stupid globe. Where do you think they came from? Do you think they were measured on that globe? Nah, they were measured on a flat plane with angles to Polaris. That's how all the maps were derived. That's why they're all flat, so you can still functionally use them with angles off a flat Earth. Did you never wonder why all the maps were flat? What's that? You think they were globe projections? Oh, did they not tell you that the latitude on the globe came from flat Earth measurements before that? Oh, they just didn't tell you. Oh, well, that makes you dumb. And I, the flat earther, know better than you about your stupid globe faith. This must be very painful. You'd want to change the subject from the flat earth measurements that you need for your globe. Surely you'd want to know more about how your globe came to be. Oh, you don't? You'd rather just believe in it as a fantasy? And I'm ruining that for you? Oh, that's a shame. Well, what I'm doing is laughing at you and mocking you because you're all stupid globe-believing numpties who don't really know any better. And I, with righteous indignation as a flat earther, do. I, and everybody around here who is a flat earther, right now, are factually smarter than every single globe believer in this server. We are your superiors, intellectually speaking. You are all dumbos who chant through us and need 19 repetitions of your failures. That's how it actually took place here today. Hope we're all clear on the globe side just how dumb you all are and how we are mocking you now. Us, the flat earthers, are mocking you.
I'll accept the dumb thing, but watch who you're calling a numpty.
Numpty means dumb.
You should check your dictionary, friend. It certainly does not.
Oh, maybe I'll be standing corrected after I look it up. Meanwhile, intellectual superiority from flat earthers was I was highlighting more than anything here. Specifically with regards to globe understanding.
Great globe proof, mate.
Yeah, we were pointing out that we know more about your stupid globe religion than you do. And that's embarrassing and painful.
Can I have?
You know what we?
Can I have an example?
Go ahead. Sorry.
Of three circles being drawn on a map.
Sorry.
Sorry, Nathan, for Top Hat in the chat at
Top
40
Hat.
minutes past the hour from Oxford Dictionary, numpty, noun, informal, British, a stupid or ineffectual person. Confused numpties who have little idea of what they are talking about is the example given.
Thank you.
Maybe colloquial.
Save me a job.
Yeah.
So yet again, a flat earther correcting the phraseology was corrected by a globe-believing idiot saying they were wrong and they needed to look it up. The person who said that, just so we're clear, you just made a perfect example of how the flat earther, in this case me, was your intellectual superior in phraseology and linguistic ability. I knew better and used the word correctly because that guy was an idiot, a numpty, stupid. He didn't know much about his globe religion and how the origins worked. And now, in response to me taking my victory of intellectual superiority, somebody else is chanting through me, probably with a globe, probably somebody stupid, probably a globe believer. All right, are you a stupid globe believer, the guy that just started talking?
Well, and I heard you stutter there. That's what I heard. And you are kind of dumb because you think that's...
What a wanker. So immediately into an ad hom. I say no curved line to a 90-degree Earth measured flat. He starts talking about how I'm stuttering straight into the ad hom. That's a logical fallacy.
Well, are ad homs bad, Nathan?
Yeah, the logical fallacies. Wow! The Globe Believer asks if fallacious reasoning is bad. Oh no, fallacious reasoning is wonderful, mate. You stupid globe-believing numpty. Hello? The guy who asked me if fallacious reasoning was bad. Do you feel smart? Because we are now with righteous indignation mocking you for your demonstrated stupidity. So the audience is clear. I've now got to clear this up as the flat earther with intellectual superiority. That's right, audience. Using fallacious reasoning like an ad hominem attack is bad. This dumb globe believer didn't quite realise that. Fairly standard fare that me, the flat earther, has to correct an idiot globe believer when he declares, in an expressed high tone, is it bad to use a logical fallacy? Yeah, it is, you stupid idiot. You numpty.
Yeah, so that was Rich Evans, yeah? So, Rich, have you got anything else to contribute to the conversation, or...?
I could, yeah. Am I going to be able to speak, or am I going to get
well, it depends if you just
chanted over,
or you're going to stay on top.
We're going to get chanted over.
Oh, what did you want to talk about, AJ?
Anything in regards to?
Come on, Rich, prove the globe.
Everyone else, please be quiet.
I think we'll stick on Nathan's topic. Yeah. Is an angle two straight lines meeting at a vertex?
If we're sticking to Nathan's topic, then we're going to be talking about how we're not dumb, right?
No,
you can
because that's all he was talking about.
Okay, I'll pick up the range from there.
I was trying to clarify it for you, and you just spoke straight through me.
Yeah, I'll pick up the range from there if you want me to. He's saying,
yeah,
he's going to talk about how dumb they're not. Okay, well, that's by way of demonstration. So my examples thus far with people's stupidity have been with stupidity like curved lines meeting at vertices to create 90s. That's stupid. So I give examples where my opponent, a globe believer in this instance, is stupid. So I can call him a stupid globe believer because as a globe believer, he's declared that a curved line can meet a 90-degree point on the ground. It can't. That makes him stupid. And the reason for his stupidity is his globe belief. Therefore, I am righteous in declaring him as such because it's absolutely factually accurate. Now, I don't know you. I don't know if you're going to use fallacy. We'll see how we get on. But when we measure Earth flat with 90-degree points to Polaris, what we're actually just doing is taking an angle to a star with respect to a horizontal plane that we are standing on and establishing that we can get 90 below the star at something called a ground position. 90 degrees between that point and you is a flat Earth. So with that example, I proved that Earth is measured flat. It was actually my opponent's example. I didn't bring it up.
Sorry, was that dribble supposed to mean something?
Yeah, it means we measure Earth flat. It wasn't drivel. It was a quite concise description of an elevation angle measurement to Polaris with 90 degrees below it called a ground position and a line along the ground between you and it. A baseline.
I can't differentiate
with
that
respect to a horizontal plane.
Mushy peas
and it seems that if it's not just drivel that he didn't understand, perhaps where a good chunk of my audience absolutely understood what I just said, you project your ignorance because you failed to understand it? Because it wasn't drivel, it was a concise description of an elevation angle measurement. That particular concise description that you interrupted after calling drivel is actually our system called latitude. You called it drivel, it's actually called latitude. Your ignorance, demonstrated stupidity here, led you to ascribe a description of measuring latitude. You labelled it drivel because you are an ignorant globe believer like the last guy. It's not drivel, it's called a latitude measurement. I hope you feel educated by me, the flat earther, who's now mocking you for your ignorance. So, yeah, I stand by my example. We are smarter than you globe-believing numpties. That was just demonstrated by that guy. Thanks for making my example for me and justifying me laughing at you. Maybe you'd like to tell me that I stuttered through my example where I proved Earth's measured flat. Maybe. We'll see.
No, he's taken off.
Run away, little globe believer.
Nathan, it was
But we'll
dribbled
give
to
Gregory
him
another chance.
because he can't comprehend it.
Yeah, he
But
projected
it's
that.
perfectly sound English to me.
I did say that. I said he projected his ignorance, but yes, that's correct. Go ahead, AJ. I'm sorry.
Well, good. I'm just saying I've unmuted Gregory. We'll give Gregory another chance. He was speaking originally before Rich rudely interrupted and took over and then bolted.
Yeah. I mean, I just want to ask Nathan, can a gradient extend to 10 to the negative 17 tool in a container?
Sorry, what claim did I make about this exactly?
You say that you can't go to a place that's 10 to the negative 17 tool vacuum of outer space.
Yeah, gas would fill that area of volume. I gave a Yale example where a university lecturer explained how gas fills a volume, and the volume would be space, so gas would fill it, as per the Yale example I played. Did you hear the Yale example when he described gas dispersion into a volume? Did you hear that example get played? I can play it again.
Well, I'm curious then. How low does pressure have to
you
get?
don't seem to be responding
container?
through me. You seem to be responding at the middle of my conclusion and question of you. I'll try that again for a second time. Hopefully you won't chant through the middle of me. We'll see how I get on. I'll try a second time. Did you hear the Yale lecture about specifically PV equals nRT and the second law of thermodynamics with a very specific example of gas filling a volume? Gas fills...
Yeah, I heard you say that.
There's the conclusion again that he's rumpus. That's the second attempt. Are you a
I said I heard that, retard.
Are you a coward? Do you need to chant through the end of my statement there, coward? Is it that you're scared of me and the answers to the question won't be forthcoming? Therefore, if you chant through the end of the question, you won't have to answer it? Scared? Shall I try a third time, little boy? Are you a small boy?
Yeah, I said I heard that.
Are you a small boy?
I heard that.
Are you a small boy?
Are you an old man? Are you an old man?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah. I mean,
Meanwhile, gas fills space. The Yale lecturer made that absolutely clear, and I'm trying to get clarity, third time's the charm, with this guy. If he heard the Yale lecturer describe gas filling space when describing the second law of thermodynamics, did you hear that is my question. It's a yes or no question. Closed.
for the third time, Nathan, I heard that. Do you understand English, Nathan?
Yeah, gas fills space. It's like a genie that gets out of the perfume bottle. You'll never get it back in. So gas that we're all breathing fills space. So space is fake. We wouldn't have high-pressure gas. We wouldn't be breathing it if there was an availability of volume for it to fill that it ain't filling in your religion.
All right, so how low does pressure have to get before you require a container, Nathan?
I'm not making claims about anything to do with the sky. This is a sky vacuum claim for you to have an outer space. I'm responding to you, and you don't seem to like my response. It seems like my response is painful and needs immediate chanting.
Bit retarded.
Ah, another triggered fundy, ladies and gentlemen. He doesn't like my responses. It's much easier if the question he asks is followed immediately by him carrying on talking. The answers don't want to be heard, again, like the last guy. This is why we mock you, because you seem weak. Yeah, I'm trying to respond to you. You're asking me about why gases do things. Did I have a claim about something in regards to this? Or was it just my rebuttal in regards to you having a sky vacuum belief that defies entropy? Because I don't remember making any positive assertions in this regard. But if we're done with my rebuttal about gas filling space and my example of the Yale University professor specifically detailing how gas fills space, then that's it. That's the end of the discussion about your sky vacuum in the affirmative positive claim that's been refuted. What's that? Did you want to ask me something about the sky? I don't really have any claims about that, so I don't feel the need to defend anything. But did you need to ask me about how gas behaves? You, like I, could sit through hours and hours of Yale University lectures, like I've done. Or what's the other one I sat through? MIT. Hours and hours of lectures that I've sat through from MIT and Yale about second law and first law. Man, it's boring and tedious. You can do that too if you want to know how this stuff works. I just use it to absolutely take a giant steaming shit on stupid globe-believing numpties' belief that the sky is a vacuum. Beyond that, I don't have any positive claims to have to answer your questions in that regard. I hope you understand.
You have somebody
It's more
appeal
like
to
you
the
can't
gradient
respond because you don't actually know what you're...
Was that the start of an ad hom? You don't know what you're talking about. No, I cited Yale. The audience heard it and you heard it. Do I not know what I'm talking about? What about the guy from Yale? He's talking about gas filling space. It's a law of nature. You don't know what you're talking about. Again, a nice, beautiful example for my audience where we, the flat earthers, righteous indignation, you stupid boy, sit down. You obviously haven't sat through any of these lectures and want to tell me how I don't understand. Yeah, I do. Anything else, son? Or can we start mocking you for your stupidity and lack of understanding?
You run away. That's fine. Run away.
No, I'm asking
Bye-bye,
you if there's
Nathan.
anything
Bye-bye,
else
run away.
beyond your lack of understanding of the second law of thermodynamics.
I've already proved you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it was same ad hom that we laughed at last time, showing your weakness. I pointed out to my audience how weak that makes you seem. You feel the need to rinse and repeat that weak-ass crap about how I don't understand the many hours of lectures on thermodynamic laws that I've watched. No, I understand. I absolutely assure you. Is that all you've got, or was there anything else? Maybe you wanted to accuse me again of running away when I'm running a live show.
Well, I mean, I'll give you a second shot, Nathan. So you're saying that gas pressure can't go to 10 to the negative 17 torr as the gradient, right? Because it will fill the available
I didn't
space.
say that.
So
I did
why
not
is
say
65
that.
miles?
He's just told me what I'm
That's what you
saying,
said.
and I
Maybe
didn't
you
say
didn't hear
that. I didn't say that, and he won't shut up. So you've got to put a false quote in my mouth that I didn't say. Is that really how you work? Oh, son, no. Unless you can rattle off a verbatim quote where I say that gas cannot fill 10 to the minus 17 torr. Those words never cross my lips. You're just lying about things I haven't said. Again, we've had thousands of examples of lying glurfs who need to insert words I haven't said into my mouth with the words, so you are saying, insert bullshit I've never ever uttered here, and then start responding to that crap that I've never said. No, I've never said that gas won't fill 10 to the minus 17 torr, quite the opposite. I say gas fills space. That's what I actually say. Maybe you need something else that I haven't said to respond to. Sad.
So Nathan.
Is this someone else?
Are you yep. Are you able to demonstrate
Did you want to appeal to the
pressure?
moderator before you just pick up the baton in some server? I was talking to someone else. You just lost badly.
Oh,
Do you think
sorry.
it's your chance to take my victory dance away from me? How dare you? That guy just had his ass absolutely handed to him. Yeah? By me, a flat earther. Another example justifying why I'm mocking you globe believers for being stupid. That was another example of that. And my righteous indignation in telling you to shut up while I take my little victory dance as a flat earther with the intellectual superiority I've demonstrated here in front of a load of globe-believing numpties who don't really know much about their own stupid religion of a sky vacuum-based globe that's based on flat earth measurements. That was my victory dance, son. Now you can appeal to one of the mods and ask him permission to talk.
All right, yeah, AJ. I would like to ask Nathan a question.
Yeah, man. I think we're done with Jekyll or Gregory. Sorry, Gregory. Jekyll. Yep. Go ahead, trigonometry man.
All right. Do you have a demonstration of gas pressure in a container having a gradient?
A bottle garden? Why are you asking me? I don't have a positive claim about this. I just explained this to the last guy. I'm now answering him, and within seconds he's talking through me. Shocking, innit? Weak. Meanwhile, I'll just conclude. I hadn't really started. I gave you an example, bottle garden. Shut your stupid mouth. Meanwhile, I don't know why I'm being asked for this example. That's in absolute congruence with every single example of any gas pressure or gas pressure gradient ever, because they'll all have containment without exception. Meanwhile, this doesn't need to be put at my door. I am not claiming anything about the sky. The reason we point out the second law of thermodynamics is because you have a positive claim that the sky is a vacuum if you're a Western world globe believer. I don't have any claim in this regard, and I only explained this to the last guy 2 minutes ago.
Well, you do make a claim that a container is required, correct?
It's an antecedent consequent relationship. Unless you can demonstrate that you don't need a container for gas pressure, meaning it's pressing, or you can cite something beyond NASA, who say that pressure is the force exerted on the walls of the container. No, that's not a positive claim. It's an antecedent consequent relationship.
You hate stupid people, Nathan.
There's somebody else with a nice little ad hom. White Knight ad homs from the
Oh,
sideline
dear.
when someone gets a proper pasting and pummeling. We're still not addressing the fact that this isn't a positive claim I need to defend. I've put that to him. He hasn't responded to it.
Well,
Chances
you
of him
make
actually responding to something I say without total
Stupid
interruption,
people do
Fundy muting
exist
like
though,
he's
right?
doing now. You know, my points don't get addressed. I pointed out that I've put it to him and the last guy within 5 minutes. Will it get addressed? No, of course not. I'm not making a positive claim about what the sky is. Second time.
Can I address it?
And just before we move forward, I would not appeal to gas pressure gradients with respect to sea level as a defense for it. You see what happened to the last guy?
Yeah, pressure
Nathan
gradients.
hates stupid people.
Pressure gradients are described with respect to sea level. Altitude of the gradient is a description that requires a flat Earth to describe it. So yeah, that won't go well if he appeals to that. Roger Ledwell, shout out to you for the super chat. We're going to run for about maybe 5 more minutes live. All the islands in oceans, all the heavens in the motions. Okay, thank you for the super chat.
So
would you say PMARS is the best debater?
No.
If we have a gas pressure lower, and then you're using the example of the Yale lecture, what causes the gas pressure lower to not fill the available space up higher if it's lower pressure? Shouldn't that Yale lecture?
What you're
refute
asking
the
me?
Gas pressure gradient?
What you're asking me? Why doesn't the gas in your heliocentric religion fill space? Is that what you're asking me?
No. Why doesn't? No. No, I'm asking why doesn't the gas fill the area in the flat Earth space? Why doesn't if gas fills the available space? Then what's stopping the gas at lower
why did you ask me
altitudes
if?
from going up
I don't
to
get it.
higher altitude?
I don't get it. Why are you saying if? Second law of thermodynamics. Sorry, if law of nature. No. Let's just start there. That was your first statement. If gas fills space, what are you babbling about? Gas fills space.
Yeah. If
let's just stop.
If
stop. Not if. So when I say not if 3 times, his first statement that he interrupts me with is if. No, gas fills space. It is not an if, but, contrary to if, a law of nature. That means it occurs always. So we're not going to start this discussion with if gas fills space, because it's not an if, it's a law of friggin' nature. So, based on the fact that you're prefacing your question to me about how gas behaves with an if gas fills space, I'm not going to be able to answer it. We need to first deal with your misunderstandings of laws of nature, things that occur always. By correcting your putting it into a question with an if, maybe it won't happen. No, it's not an if. Are we clear?
All right. Yep. So it always happens. So because it always happens, why does the gas not fill the available space? Why is there a gradient?
It does. Is he stupid? It's just said, yeah, gas fills space, so why doesn't gas fill space? Are you fundamentally idiotic? You've said, yeah, I understand, it's a law of nature, yeah, gas fills space. So I'm going to put it to you, why doesn't gas fill the volume? You're asking me why gas doesn't do that which it does, you stupid clown. Are you mentally retarded? You've just accepted the premise that gas always fills space and then ask me why it doesn't fill volumes. What, space?
Yeah,
it does.
Why doesn't it? Why do we?
It does. Are you deaf and stupid? It does fill space. You just admitted to that. It's a law of friggin' nature, but you're going to follow on from concession of a law of nature by asking me why it doesn't do that. It does do that always. It's a law of nature. Gas fills space. So the next question, why isn't it filling a volume? What are you talking about? That does not happen. That defies the law of nature. Why are you asking me why gas defies the law of nature that you just conceded to? That makes no sense.
Wait. So you're saying that the law of gas, which is that it fills the available space,
is that a quote? Is this a quote? Is this a quote? Is this a quote?
Wow, look at this. Yes, it is.
It's just said, so you are saying. If the next thing you say doesn't have frigging quote marks around it, I'm going to get real pissed with you real quick. Because if you do that to me, I can do that to you. I can say, so you are saying, and then insert some vulgar filth about you that you didn't really say. So don't start your sentence with "so you are saying" if the next thing out of your mouth isn't a bleeding quote.
You did say it, Nathan.
Quote.
You can't explain the gradient.
Quote.
You say gas fills
What's the
available
quote?
space, and then
What's
you say,
the quote? If you're going to tell me what I've said, I expect you to put it in quotes. I just said that. Hello?
Quote, gas fills the available space around it.
Therefore, space is debunked. Because if the available space around us were the sky vacuum, then gas would fill it and we'd all be dead.
Therefore, gradient debunked, Nathan.
Sorry, that's a delta of gas pressure that you first need containment. So just rinse and repeat, assholes, today. We've already dealt with Delta X with the other guy who had demanded that he didn't do it when he did it twice, appealing to an airplane wing in existing gas pressure. And now you're appealing to a gradient within existing gas pressure. Well, if the sky was a vacuum, we wouldn't have existing gas pressure to develop a gas pressure gradient. You're appealing to Delta X. It's absolutely pathetic. Have you not got anything else other than appealing to a question about something that occurs in already in existent gas, therefore must have containment, or it would be filling the sky vacuum? Because that doesn't overcome the argument, you clown.
You're using circular reasoning, Nathan.
Now, I'm using the second law of thermodynamics and the descriptions of entropic law and gas dispersion into volumes. It's not circular reasoning, it's a law of nature.
So if it fills containers, then why doesn't it fill the container?
Right, what if it fills containers is his only prong of attack? If the guy at Yale, when he dictated to a whole bunch of people and comported with every single lecture on the second law of thermodynamics, no, mate, it seems like you don't want to agree with the laws of thermodynamics because it means you can't have a fundamentalist religious belief in a sky vacuum and need to reposition a law of nature into an if statement. I've dealt with this 3 times with you now, and I'm done, because he's no longer, for the audience's benefit, he's no longer listening to what I say. He's now continually chanting through the top of me rather than listening to what I've just said. So I don't want to talk to him anymore. Remove him, please.
Pardon me. I would like to point out that the only response, contextually, is to say, when challenging them about their heliocentric space, is to say, well, what about these flat Earth gas pressure gradients from a level horizontal plane we call sea level? Well, what about those? You can't explain that. Why would we need to explain a gradient from sea level? What's a flat Earth? We don't have to explain anything to you at that point. You've accepted it's flat.
Yeah, as soon as they describe pressure gradients, I'm going to have to get into the habit of doing that, John, but thank you. That was the perfect round out. Thank you to Dazza888 also. It says, fill the available volume. One of my super chatters, for the benefit of those who may not realise in Discord, the intellectually inferior globe believers, one of my super chatters has just given me $2 to quote MIT when they describe gas behaviour. I'll repeat his super chat that he paid to get on air. Fill the available volume. That's what gas does. It's a law of nature. It's called the second law of thermodynamics. That was an MIT lecture on the same subject. Meanwhile, we've got to ask me a question about if second law of thermodynamics. I'm thinking no. But with that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So another massive thank you to today's Politics Discord server and my G+ panel for making today's live show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you for liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, gifting out free memberships, hit me up on Ko-Fi and PayPal and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley. Another massive thank you to today's Politics Discord server, and I will see you all in the next video.